Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome to the brand new season where Hansi Flick's team have got themselves off to the absolutely perfect start. It was the only way that Flick's Barca were ever going to start, with a win over Mallorca by 3-0. And I've got to say, guys, the comments on yesterday's video, your comments were absolutely amazing. They're talking about how long you've been here on the channel, here with me, here, part of the community, and how long you've been fans of this incredible club. And although right here, it is a brand new season, a new campaign is now underway, but this was still the same Barca. This was still the same Hansi Flick DNA right there. Raphinha, Ferran Torres, and of course, Lamine Yamal with the goals tonight. And there were just 2 red cards for Mallorca. The first half, genuinely, it was wild out there. All of that is on the way for you here today in the review, and we're also going to talk more about registrations, guys, at the end, because we still didn't quite manage to get everybody registered. It's all coming up for you, so get ready, and let's do this. However, guys, why don't we take one big deep breath and start right from the beginning, because even before kickoff there was a little bit of surprise there in the kit that we would be using tonight, because as you saw, Barca actually lined up with last season's 3rd kit instead of our new kit. Why did that happen? Well, apparently the new away kit clashed a bit there with Mallorca's shorts, and basically because Barca are yet to officially release their 3rd kit this season, we did have to resort to last season's strip, and that could also happen against Levante. But let's look here at the starting lineup that Hansi Flick went with. I thought there was a few big calls in there, big decisions from him. I think the one that really jumps out would be at right back, Eric Garcia there preferred over Jules Koundé. Now that is one that had been debated quite a bit, to be honest, before the game, so that is something that maybe could be understandable. Fermin Lopez was preferred there in that attacking midfield role after his sparkling end to pre-season, with Marcus Rashford on the bench, Ferran starting, and Ferran scoring. But even so, guys, before the game actually started, there was still time for concern for Barca, because there was big worry about Joan Garcia. In the warm-up there, he seemed to suffer some real pain in his left hand, and he actually left there, the warm-up before the game. He went over to the sidelines. He was treated by the medical staff who were working on him there right up until kickoff, and he did look in some real discomfort. So considering all of that, I think he played absolutely fantastically. And before the game started, nice exchanges in the tunnel there between Barca players and Pablo Torre, all smiles, all very nice vibes in the tunnel. But well, when the game started between these 2 teams, it all kicked off. Because for those who are going to be keeping score, it did take Lamine Yamal only 2 minutes of the new season to register his first nutmeg. He was wasting absolutely no time in welcoming everybody here back to La Liga, and inside of 10 minutes, well, Barca did what they do. It is as simple as that. Last season, we saw this exchange how many times? Lamine Yamal cutting inside there onto that left foot, and he's just looking for that cross, isn't he? He's looking for that late run by Raphinha, just peeling off the edge of the defence, in round the back. Wonderful movements. The cross is perfect, absolutely beautifully weighted there. Raphinha can just run onto it, nod it into the back of the net, and like I say, it may be a new season. We might here be 12 months on from the very beginning of Flick ball, but things are still happening in this team. Wonderful first goal. Barca very much off the mark. And I want to point this out here. Shortly after that first goal, when Barca took the lead, nice moment from Joan Garcia, because first of all, he comes out, claims a cross. Now pay attention to that, because we're going to see a lot of that this season. Look at his stature, look at his height. He is going to be so good there, coming out, being commanding, and making sure that he's claiming those high balls. But once he does that, he's not resting on his laurels. He's looking at Raphinha there, making that run, darting in behind the defence, and he picks him out really nicely with a throw. And look at that there, Mallorca, inside of 10 minutes now, they've got their fullback booked. And all of that comes from the quick thinking of Joan Garcia. Again, we're seeing good distribution from him. These are very good signs. And that was also an early sign of the barrage of cards that would be on the way. We did, though, have a few scares in that first half from Moreici in general. And I'm not just talking about the fact that he tried to take Joan Garcia's head off, but no, before that here, you can see it's a bit of scruffy defending from Barca. We don't really get that back line organised. Mallorca make their way away in behind. And then in front of goal here, Moreici, that's exactly the man they'd want this kind of chance to fall to. Great opportunity, really fluffs his lines on the finish there. Very, very weak effort. It's straight at Joan Garcia, thankfully, who holds on to it very, very well. And then we had the next goal from Barca. Or was it a goal? Should it have been given? Was it given even in the first place? There was so much confusion inside of the stadium. So let's look at what happened. Because Yamal, I think he plays a sort of cross there, a little bit of power on it, but nothing too crazy. The defender then heads that ball away. All he does is clear the ball with his head, which, let's be honest here, not to be all Roy Keane about it, but that's his job. And then once he heads it away, he just falls on the floor. Now, I don't really know if he expected the referee to blow up, because that's not really in the rules here. It's not about a collision. It's not about potential concussion here from a real impact. He's headed the ball away as a defender, and then he's just dived on the floor. So the referee, I think the problem here is that he puts the whistle to his mouth. Now, he doesn't blow up, and I think Mallorca, once they see that whistle go there, maybe they think he will, but he doesn't. I don't know why the referee did that, because there's no need to do it. It's not something that we need to stop the game for, because, then Barca just carry on. Ferran Torres, to credit to him, he doesn't hesitate. He's not stuttering. He hasn't lost concentration. And can we actually just say here, despite all of that confusion, this is a spectacular finish. This is an absolutely unbelievable strike here from Ferran. He just picks this ball up on the edge of the box, bang, top corner, no questions asked. And that is an absolutely fantastic goal. I can understand the frustration from Mallorca because of that action from the referee. Really don't know what he was thinking, but that's a legal goal. That should have definitely stood. And what a finish from Ferran Torres. So that meant, of course, that Mallorca were indeed 2-0 down pretty early on in the first half. And, well, it couldn't get any worse for them, though. I mean, could it get worse for them? Oh, it did get worse for them, because then they were actually down quite quickly to 10 men. It's Morlanes here who picks up his second yellow card of the game in quick succession there, bringing down Lamine Yamal. And honestly, you're thinking, okay, if you're already on a yellow, don't do that. Don't trip up an opposition player. But that's the thing. When you've got Lamine Yamal running at you, these players don't know what to do. They are scared. They are panicking. They are thinking, I've got to do whatever I can. And you make rash decisions there. So Mallorca quickly down to 10. And, well, could it get any worse? It can. And this is just terrible. Honestly, this was an absolutely shocking action, in my opinion, by Moreici. Because obviously here, he's sent through on goal. I understand that when the ball there is bouncing, it's there to be won. He's a forward. He wants to get on the end of it. He's got to make every attempt to get that ball. But what I don't think here is that he has the license to go in with a scissor kick. That's what we saw here. You can see Joan Garcia. He doesn't come out with his foot first. He doesn't come out flying into a kick. He comes out with his head. He's very, very brave. You've got to commend him for that. He comes out. He wins it so well. So brave, like I say. But he gets absolutely clattered by Moreici. And obviously here, Mallorca, again, they're complaining, they're moaning, they're whistling about the decision. Referee then goes to VAR. What can he do here? What can he do but to give a red card? You have literally nearly taken our new goalkeeper's head off. What are you expecting to happen? So Mallorca here, down to 9 men. They're angry, they're frustrated. Looking around the crowd, I would just say, I don't think they particularly enjoyed Hansi Flickball returning. I don't think they particularly enjoyed here playing Barca in the first game of the new season. That hasn't really gone down too well. But in the balance of fairness, should we talk about this Raphinha tackle? Because I've got to say, guys, in my opinion here, lots of fans outside of Barca, they're going to be saying, well, that has to be a red. Because I think the one thing about this is Raphinha kind of lunges into it, he kind of jumps into the tackle, both feet at one time do leave the ground. And the only reason I'd say, in my opinion, we may have gotten away with one is because when you look at Raphinha's reaction immediately after making this tackle, I think he expects it to be red. I honestly do. I think Raphinha in his mind is thinking, what did I do that for? What have I just done there with that flying tackle? There was no need for it. I think he got caught up in the heat of the battle, the heat of the moment. But we did get away with that. And I think one of the reasons why we did maybe is because Mallorca didn't actually seem to protest that much. Nobody was really swarming around the ref. There wasn't really uproar from the sidelines there. Nobody was actually asking to go and check VAR or anything like that. So Raphinha there gets away with just a yellow. But then it was weird because at half-time, it all kind of kicked off. Mallorca players getting in Raphinha's face there. Raphinha sort of trying to be held back. Koundé got involved as well. It was all sort of happening. But yeah, absolutely crazy first half. Barca, though, doing the job, doing the business well, getting those 2 goals. But a lot of controversy, a lot of action there centering around the ref. And in that opening half, two red cards. Now, as we do move in here to the second half, we did have an early change there coming in at half-time. Fermin Lopez was taken off there. Dani Olmo coming on in his place. And I just think, unfortunately today in that first half, for whatever reason, just didn't really happen for Fermin. Just struggled to get involved in the way that he has been of late. Wasn't really receiving the ball. Wasn't really able to take on many shots there in and around the penalty area. So that was a shame. But I would just say, if Flick was looking for a response from Dani Olmo there, if he was looking to get a bit of a reaction out of him, well, I think he definitely got that. I think he got a really good one. Dani Olmo, for me, came on. He seemed very eager to make things happen. Of everybody out there in the second half, he looked the most likely to score, in my opinion, with Lamine Yamal. And he was denied, Dani Olmo, by Leo Roman. An incredible save this was. Olmo gets there. He gets ahead to it. And it just looked like a certain goal until Leo Roman just gets back there somehow, palms the ball away. We all know what this goalkeeper is capable of, guys, from previous meetings. And we did see a triple substitution there in the second half from Hansi Flick. We had Ferran Torres come on for Alejandro Balde. 25 minutes or so for the young man. Great to see him getting his Barca debut here with the first team very, very early on. And that's a real good sign for the season ahead there for him. Gavi came on for Pau Cubarsí. Bit of a reshuffle there in the team with Marcus Rashford then also coming on to make his official competitive Barca debut, coming on for Ferran Torres. And there was very nearly an immediate impact from those coming on. Gavi it was with a brilliant ball over the top there to Raphinha. He cuts it back. And again, it's Olmo. He's in and around the penalty area in these little spaces here inside the box. Clatters one against the post. He was so unlucky there not to get on the score sheet. And there were a few more saves from Leo Roman. Some diving, spectacular saves, really. One here to deny Pedri. But what I want to talk about with this, I'd like to see it more. Pedri has the ball in this area here, and quite often things can open up for him because defenders, they're so wary of where he's going to pass, who's he going to pick out. Their attention is all based elsewhere. He's got the ability, he's got the quality here to take on these kinds of shots from outside the box, and he works it really well here. Very nearly scores, but for a great save. And I think throughout that second half, you're thinking, well, is the game here just fizzling out a bit? It wasn't as crazy as the first half. Obviously, Barca were cruising 2-0 up, not really in any danger at all. You've also got to mention too, we saw cooling breaks tonight. Very, very hot it was in Mallorca. So obviously lots of pressing. That wasn't really what was going to happen here today. I think Barca may be conserving a bit of energy as that game went on. We saw lots of changes. I think in some ways maybe we even treated that second half like a bit of an extra pre-season game, bringing on lots of new players, trying a few things. That's what Hansi Flick was doing. Mallorca, obviously, they were happy to lose by 2. They were also happy not to lose any more of their players to red cards, but just when you thought, well, that's going to be about it, is it, for the game? Well, Lamine Yamal had other ideas, and he was actually getting a lot of stick, I would say, from the Mallorca fans throughout the game. Lots of things being shouted in his direction, and ultimately, in the end, I think he just maybe had enough of it. He'd been trying to get a goal all night long, and at the end, he thought, you know what? I'm actually going to do it. He cuts inside. This is just typical Yamal. This is what we're seeing from him now so often. It's a stunning finish. It's past the goalkeeper there, who, like I've said, has made some brilliant saves before he can even blink. It's a wonderful finish there from Yamal. 3-0. He kicks off the new season with the goal. He's going to get plenty of them in this campaign. And Barca tonight, like I say, it was so comfortable. Now, obviously, that was helped by the red cards, but we forced those errors. We early on got the early goal, followed it up with another brilliant finish that it was from Ferran, and we ultimately forced Mallorca to panic, and that's what Flick's football does. You don't get time to breathe, and especially in this kind of heat as well. So Barca doing exactly what was needed tonight. It's a great way to start the season, nice and comfortable. Who impressed you out there tonight for Barca? Which players do you think in the lineup? Maybe some of those who came on as well, who did well, who adapted well to this game and showed what they could do ahead of the big games, of course, that we now have to come. But it was the ideal start, kicking off with 3 points, a big win in the bag, exactly what we wanted. But of course, guys, with Barca, it's not always just about what happens out there on the field. We were all waiting around for many hours before the game thinking, are we going to get our players registered? Is everybody going to be available for the first game? And that's something there that eventually this morning it got sorted out. It was great to see Joan Garcia and also Marcus Rashford registered in time for the game. That was really nice, of course, and a big relief to all of us. But I think we have to stress here, it's not like we got everybody registered in the end. There were still players here who missed out because they were not registered. Tonight there was no Szczesny in the squad because don't forget in the summer he was effectively re-signed after his contract, his original one, had actually expired. So Szczesny was not available tonight. We also had no Gerard Martin because Barca are looking to register him now as a first team player. And Hansi Flick, I think it would have been a loss for him. You know, he likes Gerard Martin, he likes his versatility, he also likes his physicality in the squad. So I think Flick would have been disappointed not to have him available for the away game tonight. And there was also no Rooney Bardghji. And I did feel quite bad, I've got to say, for Rooney, of course, because Joan Garcia, Rashford, of course, they were the big signings, the big headline signings. But it was a shame that we didn't have him. He wasn't even in Mallorca tonight. He actually stayed home behind there in Barcelona because it wasn't possible for him to play and be registered in this game. So very, very sad there for Rooney Bardghji. But hopefully now all of this will get resolved. You know, they've got a few more days. They've got the next week to come now. We're going to be talking more about this whole process. But ultimately tonight, guys, in the end, we got out on the field. The season is back underway. The smiles are back on our faces. Hansi Flick ball, it is back on our screens. And we are already loving Season 2. So let me know exactly how you're feeling. What did you make of the game tonight? And what are you excited about heading into the next match against Levante? I will see all of you soon with more videos on the way. Make no mistake about it. But until next time, guys, as always, Vejska, El Barça.